Alright guys, today we're going to do a different approach, and instead of doing the floor plan, today we're going to do some coding. And what I want to do is show you how to do vacuum by room via Google Assistant. So if I go for a demonstration, hey Google, vacuum the kitchen.
Alright, starting the robotic in kitchen.
So you can hear it say starting the robotic, which is weird because it always used to say starting the Roborock. And yeah, it's quite ironic how things start degrading over time in regards to Google Assistant. But anyway, you can see the Roborock, my Roborock anyway, has started, and it's going to go straight to the kitchen and clean the kitchen area. Now this is all done by Home Assistant and Google Assistant. There's no extra apps, there's no third parties involved, and this is completely custom made for my own Pyscript as such. So as you can see, it's doing the kitchen. While it's doing that, what I want you guys to do, if you haven't already got it, go and get Pyscript. So just do a quick search. You might be able to get on Hacks. I have seen the installation method for Hacks. So Pyscript in a Google search, it'll be the first one up top, or for me it will be anyway. And you'll be taken to the GitHub page. You've got your installation, Hacks and manual. I always do manual. Like I said, I don't do Hacks. Just do whatever method works for you, and we can go from there. And just quick configuration. Pyscript allow all imports, do true. Has global, do true. As long as you're comfortable and you're not importing other people's scripts as such, and you're not sure about their intentions or what their script is actually doing. If you're doing your own scripts, this is all perfectly fine. Now, as you'll see, it will ask for the Pyscript folder to be created, and anything in the Pyscript folder with the py extension will be auto-loaded. Now, they have a good documentation. I suggest you have a read through it. Open that. And there's a lot of things you can do with it. It is a lot better to do some scripting and coding in Pyscript than it is in simple Ginger 2, which I'm not a huge fan of. But here you can do service calls. There's a lot of things that it's quite capable of doing, and it's got the full Python flexibility as such. Service call, event firing, logging. So that's finished the Roborock. And as you can see, it's finished the kitchen. You can also do vacuum kitchen and vacuum hallway or another room, and you can combine a bunch of rooms together, and it will vacuum each room in sequence. So that's another good feature, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So as we get started, now if you've got Pyscript installed, we go to, I'm going to open up here, and go to Home Assistant, config. So this is your configuration directory, and you should have the Pyscript folder. Now in that Pyscript folder, I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code, and in that folder, you'll don't need to copy my structure, they're for other things, but just have a simple Home Assistant.py file. That will be auto-loaded. I do believe that you might have to just make sure you read through. There might be some configuration to make sure it's loaded properly, but I believe just have restart your Home Assistant, then just make sure that the Pyscript's been loaded. To find out if it has been loaded, we can go into Devices and Services. I'm not sure. Yeah, so there'll be Pyscript here, and you can configure and allow all imports and so forth. And I think it might be something that you need to add on. Can't remember 100%. Now, once that's added, if you want to reload your scripts, you can go to Settings, and there will be an option here, Pyscript Python scripting. So when you generally when you save, it will auto reload anyway, but you can also force it to reload by clicking that button. Now, with the Home Assistant file, what we're going to do is create a simple import sys, and we're going to add a path for other Python files to be imported. But if it hasn't been imported already into the system path, then we're going to add it. So if this is also in the documentation of Pyscript, I won't hunt for it, but if you need to look for it, it will be on the documentation page. But we're going to say if config Pyscript modules not in system path, which I've got here, then we're going to append it to the system path. Now that means that we can import Pyscript modules, any scripts that's inside that. So now we are going to straight import Python script modules Google Traits. And here we got Google Traits. And this is the file that is going to hold all the commands and so forth for the Roborock and vacuuming by rooms and other things that Google can do. I'll just show you quickly. Home Assistant GitHub. Spelled that wrong. Now, we'll go to Home Assistant and we'll go to Components and quickly find Google Assistant. Now, this is a extension of trait here, which is where it finds out whether a device is capable of such a trait and to execute the commands of an entity and its traits and so forth. It's something that you're not going to grasp in a couple of hours or something, but you can go onto the Google site and get a bit of insight about the commands and so forth and see how they both kind of mesh together. But you'll kind of get the hang of that once we go through this video. So if we go back and now we'll see we got the where were we? Python script modules. We want to go back to Home Assistant, and then we're importing that. You do not need to worry about that. That was just my own little code that I imported just for the sake of testing and other purposes. But if you go down and create a Pyscript _ modules folder, then you can go ahead and create Google Traits .py. I might create a new file just to go along with coding this specific vacuuming by room. So go vacuum _trait.py. Now, we have that all set up, but what I want to really do first is, if you have the Roborock, and this is the only one method I can really compare and reference with is a Roborock, because that's all I have at my disposal. If you have something different, different vacuum cleaner that can clean by room, and there's a service call to do that, then you have to find a way to implement that using the same method that I'm going to show here. But for the Roborock, what I have done, actually I'll open it from here. What I find a bit annoying is that there used to be in configuration a customize option. They took that away. I'm really disappointed because I find the customize option is very underappreciated and I use it for a lot of things. So in example, I'm going to go back and choose, we'll go here. And this is the same folder structure as this path here. So I'd rather just open it from here. Now if I go to customize, that's all fine. What I've done is vacuum Roborock, and I've added zones. I wouldn't worry about zones. I didn't end up using zones. What I'm using is rooms. And I use friendly names as the key for rooms. And I then use a ID for those rooms, which you can call for the Roborock, because the Roborock uses these IDs in the service call that defines the rooms. think I just opened Adam. That was an accident. So hallway is ID 21, family room 27. So once you've got all these in here and you restart Home Assistant, you can go in and go vacuum, and then we'll look for Roborock, and they're all in the attributes. And the good thing is that when you make the script for this, it will be available everywhere, and you only have to type in the room name and not worry about these IDs. And when you do change it in the Android app or the iOS app, these can change easily. So at least you got one central place to keep everything in order. And if an ID changes, you only just need to change it here, then it'll change all across Home Assistant. So our next step after we've done that is, well, I'll tell you how to do finding out the IDs to start with. So before the Roborock, we got clean, let's see, the Army Mio clean segment, and that's clean by rooms. And what you want to do is choose your Roborock, then choose your segments and go through each one. I think it starts from ID 15 or something. Then once you do that, look on your app and find out what room that's cleaning. Then you go up and go to 16 and find out again, and 17. And then as you go through them all, you're adding those IDs to what room they've been assigned. So that's how you find out the ID for specific rooms. Bit of trial and error, really. So with that covered, I want to show you the script to make this simpler for everything involved in Home Assistant. So if we go down and I want to choose scenes and go to our scripts, I've got a script here. It's called Roborock Clean by Rooms. Now this is a simple script. What it does is takes in the names of some rooms. So we can do, I'll do it from here as well. Service. And let's say clean by room. Here's a script, clean by rooms. And we're going to go to YAML. And the data was rooms. And in here, we can just simply say laundry. And if we want to do multiple rooms, we can say family room. Now with that done, we can call the service and it will call those segments to be called, as you can see here, as the data being relayed across. We've got service vacuum clean segment for the Xiaomi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm not really good with pronunciations, unfortunately. And the data that we're passing in is the generic, vacuum. And the segments, this is where we are going to set such zones. So what I'll quickly explain what's going on. But with Ginger 2, the scripting language for this, it's not easy to set arrays and append arrays, and it might have changed now, but this is one of the reasons why I don't like using Ginger as a scripting language. It's just so flimsy. But anyway, this is how I had to do it. We do set zones equals namespace zones, so that makes it an array or empty array. Now we're going to for room in rooms. That's rooms is a variable that was passed into this script, as if I was to do here rooms. Then we're looping them, and we are saying set zones equals zones. So we're going to set it to what zones already has inside its array. Then we're going to append one of these rooms based on its friendly name. So we're creating a new array, and we're getting the state attribute, Roborock rooms. So that will be going to, just bear with me. The rooms here, then it will find out the ID. So rooms and the room key, and which will be laundry, first one. Then it'll put 23 as that value, so that eventually turns to be 23, and it appends to the array. Then it will loop again for family room. Then again it sets zones to zones, so now it's got the laundry also appended plus the family room ID. So in the end that will turn out to be an array of 2 IDs, which will be 23 and living room 17. And once that's done, it will tell the Roborock to clean those rooms and segments. So now everywhere in your Home Assistant, like on your Lovelace or so forth, like I've done here, I'd use that same code as a calling a service call, and just clicking that will clean that specific room based on its name. And when an ID changes, I just need to change the ID on the customize in here, and everything is still in sync after that. So now that we got hallway, family room, and all that also named friendly, we can also use those names in Google Assistant to also target those rooms. So let's go in and start our Pyscript and get a bit dirty in regards to the coding of Python. So where I left off here, we were up to creating the Google traits up here. Why I'm using the vacuum trait as so that you don't get all this cluttered stuff as I walk you through it. So what we want to start doing is in here we got Google Assistant, Home Assistant components, Google Assistant trait. Now we're going to import from there, and that is this here. This is what we're importing from. So as we import, we want to import, actually I'll copy this over so we don't get too cluttered. We want to import the start and stop trait as underscore start and stop trait. The reason I do this and use the underscore is so we don't have any naming conflicts. So once we do that, we'll cut that off, and then we'll go back in. We don't need any of these. We need register trait, because when you have a look inside these traits, you got register trait decorations, method decorations above, which means once that's above the class name, it will automatically put those classes into the trait array up here. That's all that decorator is doing. So with that in mind, we got register trait, and what we also wanted to bring in is traits and that traits array. Now this trait here, I believe, is the base class, but I don't know if I'm using it anywhere. Not that I can see anyway. I'll just have a quick look. No, that's just underscores. There we are. That's all right. I think that's just, yeah, that's the base trait. So we don't need that actually. We just need this one. And we'll get that command stop as well. So I'll copy this over and copy start stop. Everything else seems to be okay. We can get, I mean, unlike the thing about these imports that's coming through the Pyscript modules, we don't get the convenience of using the Pyscript original global variables, which you can find on their documentation. So we're going to import logging as a generic Home Assistant module would. So what we will start doing, we're going to copy here. So what we're doing here is we're going to write traits dot remove start trait, and we're going to remove this from the traits array. Why? Because we don't want to execute in the code twice. So we're going to remove the original. Then we are going to register the trait, and we're going to register our own start-stop trait, but we are going to extend it from the original start-stop trait from here. So it means that it's still going to contain all the methods and code that the original has, but we just want to add our own additional custom code as such. So with that, we then go back, and I want to do sync attributes. This will tell if what zones are available, and gives Google Assistant knowledge of the actual zones and what's available, which we call segments anyway. I mean, you can use the zones method, or because you got clean by zones, but that's through my script. But Roborock does have another method where you can clean by zones, and you give it the coordinates of the zones. You can do it that way too. Just however you want to write your script, that's all up to you. But continuing on, we got sync attributes, and I'll copy that over so we can break it down. What we're doing is attribute get super sync attributes. So super means call from the parent class, and then we're going to sync attributes, meaning it's getting all the attributes into a variable from the previous class, meaning so everything stays in sync and we're not, losing any features of the original. Then we are saying if self state domain equals vacuum domain, and we're going to have to import that so it knows what vacuum domain is. And to do that, we are going to go here, import from components, and we don't need lock. So import from components, import vacuum. Now we got the vacuum class, and now we can reference the domain. And then we're saying and self dot state attributes get zones is false, although I think I should be doing that as rooms. That's actually bizarre. Even though I've got zones, it doesn't matter. But ironically, I'm using rooms. Just want to make sure everything's fine like that. I want to go states, vacuum. And we got rooms hallway. So originally it was using my zones, but I changed it a while ago to rooms. I never updated it in that code, so that's why it's like that. So you don't need to do that zones, just change those to rooms instead. So we've got state attribute get rooms, and if it doesn't have rooms in there, then it's not going to add this as a attribute. And then we're going to say if it does, then we want available zones, and we're going to give Google Assistant a knowledge of the available zones, and we're going to turn it into a list. Attributes get them and the keys. So it's going to turn all of these rooms and just get the keys into an array. So hallway, family room, without, the IDs. So we then return those along with that, and everything is, staying in sync. Then we got should probably be over here. Then we got the execute command, and the execute command is when Google Assistant is saying this is what the command is. Now, it's up to our code to make that happen. So we'll copy this over. And here, because it's Python, make sure your indentations are all correct and so forth. So execute is going to bring in the command, data, and the params. And as you can see over here, this is the data that the action start stop command will take. Now we got start, zone, or multiple zones. And multiple zones is that way of saying clean more than one room. Now, the generic start would be, param start, and that's what's going to come in. Then you got stop the device start would be false. Start the device with a zone, and it would have office, so that friendly name. And then you got multiple zones, and it would come in as an array of kitchen, dining room, and living room, whatever you've defined into that in here. So with that said, that command is going to be obviously that command, and we are also going to use that here to say if domain equals vacuum domain. What we're first doing is actually saying domain equals self-state domain. The self-state is obviously the entity involved in this execute. So we're saying the state domain. So if domain equals vacuum domain and command equals command star stop and parameters start equals true, then we're going to continue our code. Now we're saying if zone is in params, remember how you got the zone or the multiple zones in it, then we are going to, or multiple zones is in params, then we continue our code. Now, if either of these are false, then we are just going to go straight down and return super execute, meaning it is going to just return whatever's in here. And we'll just default to the vanilla code. You just look for it in there somewhere. Let's say start, stop, trait start, stop. So it will just default to there, and it will run the code here. Now the code already has originally vacuum, but it doesn't have the code or the awareness of rooms. That's why we're doing it in our code first. And if it doesn't have rooms or anything involved, then we're going to use the default code here, and it can continue on. And we're doing it this way because we're not overriding anything. We're not changing any core files. It just simply means that whenever you update Home Assistant, everything should still continue to work. Nothing will be overridden and shouldn't have any problems unless they do some major changes to the Google Assistant component. But having said that, we got if domain, because this has got the same same function name as here, and it's written the same, that means it's an override, so it's overriding, and it'll be calling this first, then because we're calling super here, then we're calling the parent of that one. So now, if there is zone in params or multiple zone in params, then we're going to give our own array, create our own array called zones. Now, if it's multiple zones, then I want zones to be params multiple zones. Otherwise, we're going to go zones append one zone. Now, this is just to make the code simpler and cleaner. It just means that we're always expecting an array of zones, even if it's just one. Now, lastly, we're going to return await and self has, because the original code or class has the has accessible. And then we're going to do services async call. Then we're going to call script roborock clean by rooms. Now, it's whatever you decided to call your script that you had in here. Now, I called it roborock clean by rooms. You can call it whatever you wish, but that's that code that we use to turn the friendly names into the IDs and get it starting to vacuum. So you got roborock clean by rooms. Then we're going to go to the next parameter, which is asking for the options or the parameters that go in, and it's going to be rooms and the zones that are all up here and appended. So that'll be an array of either one or more. And we do blocking true, context, data context, and so forth. Now what that's done is, because we're returning here, it's not going to go down to here. It's going to exit the function as we call this service call. Then you got your robot, I'll clean my rooms, and because you got multiple zones in there, it's simply just a matter of, if you want to say more than one room, you can, and it'll use the same code. There's no complications in that. Otherwise, you just use the one room and clean by just one name. So with all that done, I don't think you're going to have any errors. Again, this is just the one file. I'm not going to keep this file. I've already got my Google traits for other stuff all working, but you're not limited to just vacuum. If there's something that you find that you want in Google Assistant, that you find that Home Assistant's not doing for you, you just customize and, you know, come up with your own script, and you can, you know, do something a bit more fancy with it. Like fan speed, I actually went back and put low and high back into it, as well as the percentage. So I can say set the fan to high or set the fan to 100%, and they'll both work. Vacuum fan speed, I added that personally, so I can say set the vacuum fan speed to maximum, and that means that the blade will go, you know, fan speed will go as fast as it can. Then I got the unlock and lock trait. I created my own version here, I think, because lock domain code. Okay, yeah, I remember. That was to do with my new door lock that I got. I wanted to, yeah, long story there. But I'll show you a little bit of what I had done for that. As you can see, I've got a door lock here now. I've created a new code, a timeline code, and over here now, as I launch this, I got all this states, and I wanted a timeline because it just made sense for a door lock, really. And with that code that I just showed you, if I can find Google Assistant, no, that would have been a couple of days ago. Let's say from here to here. It was actually just a way for me to know that Google Assistant called the called for the door lock to be locked. Might be better off at 22, 24. You got find Google, here you go. Google Assistant unlock the door. So that's why I put that code in and created my own trait. It's just a way for me to reference who called what. And the same goes with here. Home Assistant locked the door by a closed door timer. Sean unlocked the door by a keypad. And I spent a lot of time on this, and this is just how I wanted it. It gives a nice representation and a lot easier to see. And like you'd see on the app of a official, you know, third-party app that, or, you know, a direct app like T-Link or Lockwood, Yale, I don't know. One of them, they would have a timeline like this, and I wanted to reflect like a real app. Unlike the generic logs, which doesn't give you that information that I was after. As you can see here, door was locked, and that's all you really get. There's motion and there's no motion. It's just not as detailed. So with all that done, if you want, the traits should start working. If not, leave a comment and I'll try to help where I can. I'll supply the code. I'll save that and I'll put the code somewhere so you can download it and reference. Just do a quick, make sure you do a quick, you know, restart. Just make sure you got a clean slate and give Google Assistant a try and try with the rooms. And if all is good, you'll start being able to vacuum by rooms and not have to use the other apps or whatever you want to call it on the Google Home app. I mean, on the Google Home app where you got all your entities. I don't have TP-Link. I don't have RoboRot. I don't have any of them. The only thing I have in my Google Home that's connected is Home Assistant. And that controls all my, and Google Assistant goes through Home Assistant to control everything that I have here. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and hopefully that helps you guys. See you.